The Spinosaurus should not have existed, not like this, not as a predator. Everything about its body breaks the rules evolution has been writing for over 300 million years, rules that define what a large carnivore is supposed to be. And yet, it existed. And not only did it exist, it may have been the largest predatory animal to ever walk this planet. Bigger than T-Rex, bigger than Giganotosaurus, bigger than anything you can name. And the most unsettling part is that until relatively recently, we didn't even understand what it truly was. For decades, paleontologists studied the remains of Spinosaurus and couldn't agree on almost anything. Not how it moved, not what it ate, not even whether it walked on 2 legs or 4. Think about that. An animal over 17 meters long, weighing more than 9 tons. And science couldn't answer something as basic as whether it lived on land or in water. That doesn't happen with normal dinosaurs. That happens when nature creates something so outside our categories that we don't even have a box to put it in. Now here's the part that changes everything. Spinosaurus lived around 95 million years ago in what is now North Africa. But back then, this wasn't desert. It was a vast, dense, warm river system, massive waterways stretching across the landscape. Rivers wide enough for something like Spinosaurus to move through them comfortably. And that word comfortably is the key, because Spinosaurus was not a land predator that occasionally entered the water. It was something paleontology took nearly a century to say out loud. It was semi-aquatic, and that changes everything. Imagine it. The largest carnivore in dinosaur history didn't dominate plains or forests. It dominated rivers. It lived between water and shore like a crocodile the size of a bus, with a sail on its back rising over 1.8 meters high. A long, narrow snout filled with conical teeth, forelimbs that may have helped it swim more than hold prey. This animal didn't fit the mold. It shattered it. And maybe that's why we misunderstood it for so long, because the story of how we discovered Spinosaurus is almost as disturbing as the animal itself. The first remains were found between 1912 and 1914. In Egypt, by German paleontologist Ernst Stromer. He knew immediately this was something extraordinary. The bones were too large, too different. He sent them to Munich, studied them for years, published his findings, and then World War II happened. And on April 24, 1944, the Allied bombing raids hit Munich. The museum holding the original Spinosaurus fossils was destroyed completely. Gone. The only physical evidence of the largest predatory dinosaur ever known turned to dust in a single night. What remained were Stromer's sketches, notes, and measurements, and for decades Spinosaurus was reconstructed from paper, like trying to rebuild a symphony from someone's memory of hearing it once, and the result was a version of the animal that we now know was fundamentally wrong. Then, in 2014, everything changed. A team led by paleontologist Nizar Ibrahim published a study that shook the field. New fossils discovered in Morocco revealed something shocking. Spinosaurus had short hind legs, extremely short for a theropod of its size. And that matters because large bipedal predators like T. H. rex depend on long, powerful legs to hunt on land. Without them, you don't run. And without running, you don't hunt effectively on land. Those short legs were a clue no one had properly understood. Spinosaurus wasn't built to chase prey across land. And there was more. Its bones were dense and compact. Animals that live in water like crocodiles have denser bones than land animals because it helps them control buoyancy and stay submerged. Spinosaurus had that same bone structure. On land it would make it slow and awkward, but in water it was perfect. Then there's the skull. Long and narrow, almost identical in shape to modern gharials. Crocodiles, specialized in catching fish, its teeth weren't serrated like land predators. They were smooth and conical, designed to grip slippery prey. Everything pointed in one direction. This wasn't a land hunter adapting to water. This was a water hunter. And here's something even more unsettling. At the tip of its snout, Spinosaurus had small pits in the bone, structures similar to those found in modern crocodiles that contain pressure receptors capable of detecting movement in water. In other words, Spinosaurus may have been able to sense prey without seeing it, like a biological sensor submerged in the river. If that's true, and there is still debate, we're talking about a predator capable of hunting in darkness underwater by feeling vibrations. At that point, it stops sounding like a dinosaur and starts sounding like something science fiction would reject for being too extreme. But it gets even stranger. In 2022, a study analyzing the tail of Spinosaurus revealed that its tail was tall and flattened sideways, shaped like a fin, and when it moved side to side, it generated propulsion in water. This wasn't an animal waiting at the edge, it was an active swimmer, a predator moving through rivers with purpose, driven by a body designed for that environment. And then there's the question no one has fully answered. Why the sail? That massive structure on its back formed by elongated neural spines is the most iconic feature of Spinosaurus, and also the least understood. Some believe it was a fat storage hump, others think it helped regulate temperature, others argue it was for display. The truth is, we don't know, and maybe that's the most fascinating part. We're still writing this story right now. Somewhere in North Africa, fossils that could change everything might still be buried in the ground. What we do know is the world Spinosaurus lived in, and it was brutal. The Kem Formation was one of the most dangerous ecosystems ever recorded, not because it was dry, but because it was overflowing with predators, massive rivers, warm waters, and an extreme concentration of carnivores. In those same waters swam freshwater sharks the size of humans, massive crocodile-like predators over 8 meters long, enormous fish, and along the shores, other giant predators like Dinosaurus. Spinosaurus wasn't alone. It simply found a way not to compete. It occupied a space no other predator of its size had ever claimed, the water. And that's what makes this story so unsettling. Spinosaurus wasn't the king of everything. It was a specialist, an animal shaped over millions of years to dominate a very specific niche. And when that world changed, when the rivers began to shrink and the climate shifted, it had nowhere else to go. Everything about its body was built for that environment, and when that environment disappeared, so did it. There's something in that that feels like more than paleontology. The largest predator to ever live on land didn't disappear because something stronger killed it. It disappeared because the world changed and it couldn't change with it. Spinosaurus has been a mystery for over a century. Stromer discovered it, war erased it, Ibrahim brought it back. And every new discovery since has revealed something even stranger, more extreme, and more fascinating. We're still not done. There are still bones unstudied, questions not yet asked, pieces missing. Spinosaurus remains in many ways a mystery made of bones. And maybe that's not frustrating. Maybe that's exactly why it's worth studying at all.